His father taught him two things: never trust anyone, and money is everything. The boy listened too well. He built an empire that crushed his rivals and ruled America's oil. This is the untold story of John Rockefeller, the man who turned greed into a science. And a quick welcome to the Earnova channel. We believe great ideas can change the world, and our mission is to share them with you. If you're new here, subscribe to get the stories that inspire tomorrow's leaders. Now, let's get back to the video. John Rockefeller was born in 1839 in New York. His family was poor. His father, William Rockefeller, was a very strange man. He would travel from town to town, calling himself a doctor and selling fake medicine in bottles. He was a con artist. His father would often be gone for months. And in one shocking moment, he came back home with a new woman and children, and forced his wife and his own children to live with them all under one roof. It was a confusing and embarrassing childhood. From his father, John learned two hard lessons. First, never trust anyone completely. Second, money is everything. To help his mother, little John started working. He bought a big bag of candy, divided it into small parts, and sold it to his brothers and sisters for a profit. He raised turkeys and sold them. He worked for neighbors digging potatoes. He saved every single penny he made in a big blue bowl. He would look at that bowl and smile. Even as a child, he loved money. When John was 16, his family moved to Cleveland, Ohio. For the first time, he had the chance to attend a proper school. But he didn't stay for long. His parents didn't have enough money to keep him in school, so he had to drop out. He decided to look for a job to help his family. He went to every business in Cleveland, asking for work. He was rejected again and again. For 6 weeks, he kept searching. He didn't give up. Finally, he got a job as an assistant bookkeeper. A bookkeeper is someone who keeps track of all the money a company makes and spends. John loved this job. He was a genius with numbers. He would check the bills himself to make sure they were correct. He was very serious and never joked around. He worked long hours for only 50 cents a day, but he was learning everything about how business works. After working there for 2 years, John asked his bosses to increase his pay, but they said no. So, John Rockefeller decided he didn't need a boss anymore. He would start his own business. With the money he saved from his blue bowl and a loan from his father, who charged him a high interest rate, John started his own business. He became a trader of food like grain, hay, and meat. He was a brilliant businessman. He was honest in his deals and worked very hard. In his first year, his business was a big success, and everyone around him could see he was going to be something special. He was so successful that banks were now asking him to borrow their money. He was a rich man in his city, but his most important chapter was still unwritten. In 1859, something amazing happened. In Pennsylvania, not far from where John lived, people discovered you could drill into the ground and find oil. It was like a crazy gold rush. Thousands of people ran to Pennsylvania to drill for oil and become rich. Most people wanted to dig for oil, but John Rockefeller was different. He went to see the oil fields and saw a big problem. Digging for oil was a gamble. You could spend all your money and find nothing. But John saw a better idea. The oil that came from the ground was crude, which means it was dirty and useless. It had to be cleaned and refined into kerosene, which people used in lamps for light. Rockefeller decided, I will not dig for oil. I will build a factory to refine it. He would let other people take the risk of digging. He would make money by cleaning the oil they found. In 1863, John built his first oil refinery. He called it Standard Oil. He named it this because he wanted to sell kerosene of a standard quality that people could trust. His refinery was the best. Other refineries were messy and wasted a lot of oil. But Rockefeller hired smart scientists. They found a way to use every part of the oil. They didn't just make kerosene. They also sold the leftover stuff like tar, wax, and grease. Nothing was wasted. This made him more money than his competitors. He then did something very smart and very ruthless. He wanted to own all the oil business in America. So he went to his competitors and made them an offer. He would say, "Sell your company to me for a good price. If you don't, "I will sell my oil so cheaply that you will be forced to close your business." Many were scared and sold to him. He also made a secret deal with the railroad companies, mainly the Pennsylvania Railroad and the Erie Railroad. These railroads were the ones carrying oil across the country. Rockefeller promised to ship all of Standard Oil's barrels using their trains. In return, the railroads gave him a secret discount on shipping costs, and even paid him part of the money they earned from his competitors. This was a huge advantage. It was like his competitors were paying him to beat them. By 1880, John Rockefeller was the king of oil. His company, Standard Oil, controlled 90% of all the oil in America. As at that time, he was the most powerful businessman in the world. He was so rich, he built a huge, beautiful office building in New York for his company. But as Rockefeller's power grew, people began to fear him. He controlled almost every part of the oil business, from production to transportation and sales. His competitors were disappearing one after another. Factories closed, small businessmen lost everything, and entire towns depended on Standard Oil to survive. To many, it felt like one man was controlling the nation's energy. Newspapers began calling him a robber baron, a term used for businessmen who became rich by crushing others. They said his company had become a monster, too big, too powerful, and too greedy. The government finally stepped in and called Standard Oil a monopoly, meaning one company that controls an entire industry, leaving no room for competition. And when there's no competition, that company can set any price it wants, and the people have no choice but to pay. The US government Standard Oil had become too powerful, a threat not just to other businesses, but to the entire economy. So they took Rockefeller to court. For years, the case dragged on. Lawyers gathered mountains of evidence showing how Standard Oil used secret deals, discounts, and intimidation to crush competitors. Rockefeller stayed calm through it all. While the newspapers called him evil, he saw himself as simply doing smart business. Finally, in 1911, the US Supreme Court gave its verdict. They declared Standard Oil an illegal monopoly and ordered it to be broken into 34 smaller companies. The public celebrated, believing they had finally defeated the world's most powerful businessman. As the company was broken into 34 new, smaller companies, Rockefeller kept his shares in all of them. So, he owned a piece of all 34 new oil companies. These companies, with names like Exxon, Mobil, and Chevron, grew to become huge on their own. The breakup of Standard Oil actually made John Rockefeller richer than ever before. After the breakup of Standard Oil, Rockefeller quietly stepped away from the business world. He had already built the greatest empire of his time, and now he wanted peace. In his personal life, he was surprisingly simple. He loved gardening, playing golf, and spending time with his family. He was strict but loving to his children, always teaching them to work hard and save money, just like he did when he was young. He spent the last 40 years of his life giving his money away. He donated over $500 million to build universities, like the University of Chicago, and to fund medical research. He died in 1937 at the age of 97. So, who was John D. Rockefeller? He was a poor boy who rose to become the richest man in history. He was a business genius who transformed the world of oil, and also a man who was hated for being too powerful. His story teaches us about ambition, money, and power. It shows us that even the biggest empires can fall, but a truly smart man can still find a way to win. What do you think? Was John Rockefeller a hero or a villain? Tell us in the comments. Let's know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories about the people who changed history. We'll see you next week. Until then, stay smart.